What's going on? It's PHNX Cardinals, Bo Brock, Frank Sanders, and Damian Anderson hanging out with you on a Feel Good Friday. Welcome into the podcast, of course, brought to you by the DraftKings Sportsbook app, America's #1 sportsbook app. Don't forget to hit that like button. Absolutely. If it's your first time joining us, hit that like button, subscribe. You'll get notifications when we go live. Subscribe wherever you get podcasts as well. Follow along on Spotify. Leave us that 5-star review. Give us that rating. It goes a long way. We appreciate it. DA, Frank Sanders, what's going on, guys? How's your week been?
I'm excited about the weekend. I tell you that. But most importantly, I'm excited to be here with y'all because I know we're going to get down, Bo, to the nitty-gritty of people talking shit about the Arizona Cardinals, man. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Put some respect on their name, bro.
It's crazy. It's that slow time to see, like absolute just slow season for the NFL. So you're starting to see all these fantasy football lists and you get excited because you think the Arizona Cardinals, they've got some firepower. You know, if they fall short as far as actual expectations, you got to think that Kyler Murray's still going to help somebody win maybe a fantasy football championship. James Conner was a monster last year. And all we see is more slander, more disrespect put on their name. And we're going to kind of debunk that, I think, a little bit on today's show. We appreciate everybody joining in on the chat as well. And, man, we talk about it being slow season. Everybody's gone on vacation. Kliff Kingsbury said during his media availability he was going to get off the grid. And, man, did Kliff get out of town. He didn't get off the grid. Look at this. Kliff Kingsbury, his girlfriend, Veronica, I'm not even going to attempt to say her last name. She's a underwear model, I believe, posting pics of the Arizona Cardinals head coach, a heater. Look at that guy. No carbs since 2012, it looks like.
Look, this guy.
I'm just going to say I respect it, guys, but when you saying you get off to the grid and then you just drop a picture with some 4-inch shorts on with your abs out, you're a fan of the gram. You're a fan of you ain't off the grid, bro. I mean, it just is what it is. But I respect it. I mean, dude is, staying A1 in terms of his coaching and in terms of his fitness, but you just can't throw them darts out there because that's what people like us eat up. You know what I mean? Like I'm getting off the grid, but I'm gonna make sure y'all see me at this APAC though. I'm getting off.
You would actually think he's playing. He's just coaching. Right. It's okay to have a belly. It's okay to show up Andy Reid.
He's too young. He's too young.
It's okay to be Andy Reid, man, on the sideline. As long as you got championships. I'd rather have a fat Kliff with a championship ring than a good-looking Kliff without a ring. I wait on that comment.
For real.
Thank you. Wow. I want a chubby Kliff. Can I get a chubby Kliff? That means he's in the office, DA, eating ding dong ho hos, man, in the middle of the night, some Twizzlers while he's studying plays and putting together a game plan.
No days off. No sleep.
No sleep, no gym time, no running in the middle.
You want a pail, you want that dungeon pan, you want the belly.
Chicken bone grease.
Like,
I want all that.
Grow the hair out where you see the grays. It don't even matter. That's what Frank's talking about.
No,
give me a championship ring. That's what I want. I want a big guy.
He's always got the perfect hair.
Stop posting thirst trap photos and go win some football games.
Well, I mean, he's dating an Instagram model. He's got to know he's going to show up in some capacity. But you know what's interesting is I count Frank Sanders. He's in attendance. So is Damian Anderson. So is myself. But Johnny Venerable is gone, and I think we found Johnny's whereabouts.
Oh, wow.
There he is. He's hanging out with the coach. There's Johnny.
You know Johnny like to hang out with the coach. Bruh, look at you, JV.
Look at Johnny getting down with the coach.
Wow.
Wow.
I mean, I don't think I'm more least impressed with the open-toe sandals. The confidence he had just to pull that off in public.
Is he pulling it off? I don't know if he's pulling it off.
I mean, he did it. He did. He's there with coach, he thought that was okay.
He's at the second row of Kliff Kingsbury's six-pack. That's eye level for our guy JV as they hang out on the beach in Cabo as he's third wheeling it.
Yeah, his coach is there with it, model girlfriend. Then he got Johnny just, hey, what's going on?
Hey, coach, what's going on?
What's going on?
How are you going to incorporate Hollywood Brown into the offense? Kliff's just like, yo,
I think he's going to be
get
huge.
him off my beach
right now. Come get him right now.
Somebody, security, come get this guy.
Oh God.
Johnny, we wouldn't do it if Johnny wouldn't appreciate it. He's going to hear from our friends on the Twitter streets, of course, how wrong we did him.
He will comment or retweet that for sure.
No doubt about it. He's gonna wear that like a badge of honor. Props to producer Emma for getting that that pick fired out for us early in the show. We appreciate that. We're going to get into this conversation about James Conner, Kyler Murray. Also look into which Arizona Cardinals as far as fantasy football. And I got to ask you guys, I mean, you played the game. Like, you were in those walls. You were the ones hitting the gridiron each and every Sunday. It was a little bit in the infancy stages as far as fantasy football. What were your thoughts when you were playing about fantasy football? Do you hate it?
Well, I mean, for me, when we were, I think, in it, I would always hear guys, because I mean, didn't have like the starting role like Frank did. So it was in between when I would get, touches. But I remember just talking to people and like after games that I've played, like, bro, I picked you up in fantasy and you killed it. You know what I mean? So from that aspect, you know what I mean? It was great just having the support, friends, everybody connected with the game. Now on the personal level, it gets personal. Me and Frank are playing, Bo. Me and you are playing. Like, I'm paying. Like, I'm so naive. I didn't know that people check the waiver wire at 12 a.m. Like, I didn't know that people do that.
Yeah.
Like, and get into like real life family fights over this. Like, this thing is real deal, Holyfield, and money's up. Like, it's a serious deal, man, and it keeps people engaged.
I'm very surprised on how far it's grown from how just the growth of fantasy football. How well it's taken off from office, buddies hanging around in the garage with a pool, just putting together some money and creating a situation where they thought they wanted to be general managers. And that's kind of where the game evolved from us. When you look at, from me, my timeline, I'm talking about Madden and being able to control my own team and create my own players and just the growth of Genesis, PlayStation and the game of, and then playing.
Yeah,
I know, right?
Say it out loud. Say it out loud.
Sega Genesis, man, move to PlayStation, Xbox, but then you have the power to control that. And then what that did, it gave us the power to feel like we can create our own team and become the own general managers of our team. And then the fantasy football part, when they gave you access to the players, and that in itself, you created the guys where it became fun, exciting. But then women, more women got more involved, and it wasn't just about my team; it was about every player in the league. And then you've kind of had to put your general manager hat on. And just the way the game has grown has been pretty amazing. And I marvel at where it's at right now. I have a side piece about it. I'm not 100% that it's helping the game, but I know it's helping the fans stay connected to the game because of now DraftKings and the sporting and the gambling opportunities that's taking place even much more. I
mean, I can imagine the modern day NFL player, it's gotta be a polarizing subject, right? Because if you're a star running back and you sit out, rightfully so, to get healthy. Like, I remember David Johnson after his Monster 2016 got a lot of flack because he played half of football before bowing out in the 2017 season with a wrist injury and then struggling after that. And I'm sure he got loads of shit that he didn't deserve just because some guy thought he was entitled because he drafted David Johnson 1-1 in this fantasy draft. I mean, I get it. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and take completely of the player side because I've even got on my phone a fantasy football text thread that I keep up with all my buddies all the time. But it's got to be a very big sticking point with modern day players.
I mean, Bo, I would say this. They ain't worried about that shit. One,
right.
You know what I mean? But two, it's like gamble only as much as you're willing to lose. You know what I mean? Like anything. And I get it. Everybody had these expectations of certain players, but we know this game. I mean, that's one thing, the foundation of this show is talking about the Arizona Cardinals trying to do it and win it every year. And we know with the talent that they have, how difficult, it really truly is to win a game in the National Football League, go to the playoff and win a Super Bowl, let alone have that monster year where a guy is impacting your season. You're getting 20, 30 points every week, right? Like, I mean, that's what you wanted. That's what I think everybody expected for a guy like, David Johnson. But I think that when you invest your money and you invest your time and then you take that L, obviously you're going to be upset, you know what I mean? Regardless of what it is. But I think from Frank and I perspective, I think that we know that shit, if you can't go, you can't go. I mean, that's the fortunate circumstances of the game. I'm
going to be fully transparent. There are some Sundays in my house where my wife doesn't even want to talk to me because of how pitiful my performance was, because of how those guys didn't perform. And I thought I actually had some sort of some pull on how things were going to, pan out, which is
pathetic. You had a pulse. So is it, Bo, let me throw this back at you. Like, is it because you're so down for the day, or you just your fantasy team team did so ass.
Yeah, because my fantasy team was ass. It was on par. It was on brand for me. And my wife's like, you really care this much because those competitive juices start flowing. It's like I'm in my 30s and I'm looking to kind of turn back the clock, back to when I actually played sports and I can kind of get that feeling again. But then I also get that feeling, get my ass kicked again. And I don't like it. And I'm immature and I'm not mature enough to deal with it. My wife's like, you know what? You go like figure it your shit out because you have a kid and you can't be acting like this.
I love the engagement, man. It has done something pretty special. I will say that though. I've been to many fantasy football parties in regards to picking it, then the winning ceremonies and stuff like that. I love the engagement in it that is brought to the table, and in that part of having that rivalry, whether it be in office or your boys on the streets or just your buddies around the country, that you get a chance to kind of still team up and kind of come together, that general manager mentality.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's pretty awesome about the game. And that's why the game has grown so much. Maybe not specifically toward your team because you now have to root for other teams or root for other players all against your team, but in reality, because you're a fantasy football owner and you want that money at the end of the day. So that in itself causes that. But I do like the fact that it has brought a different kind of spirit, a different kind of engagement into the game.
Frank Sanders would have been a beast back, 97 and 98? Was that the back-to-back 1,000-yard receiving?
95 NFL Rookie of the Year, wide receiver Rookie of the Year, 96, 97, 98, 99.
You got that written down.
I'm like, CTE and the way things work, I don't remember the important stuff. You know what I mean?
Well.
Definitely a spot you can get in on the fantasy football. DraftKings, the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use the promo code PHNX. Makes your first deposit. Get that risk-free bet up to $1,000. It's unbelievable. That promo code PHNX only at DraftKings Sportsbook. You got your minimum age and eligibility restrictions that apply. You want to see the show notes at the bottom of our YouTube page here for the details. Also, you can find it, of course, in the show notes of the podcast. But DraftKings, when you're looking for some action, whether it's fantasy football or just kind of betting the spreads, getting the over-unders, you're looking at some summer league, you're looking at Major League Baseball right now. Things are starting to heat up. College football is less than 60 days away. Was it 55 days away from college football? It's unreal. You're going to have more action than you know what to do with. DraftKings Sportsbook, promo code PHNX. Also, so we're sitting here on a Feel Good Friday here on PHNX Cardinals. We're enjoying some Four Peaks brews. You've got the peach golden there, ale there, Frank. I've got the Wow, of course, from the Joy Bus, that charity right there. Delicious tasting wheat beverage. Enjoying it. We're enjoying our Four Peaks partnership. The NHL draft party last night was unbelievable. Went out there with my wife and my kid. We had a blast. We had some great food. I had an adult beverage. I had another Wow beer out there. Emma crushed it as far as producing that show. It was unreal. Coyotes look like they have a nice draft haul. Check out PHNX Coyotes for all that info as the draft continues tonight. And of course, you got to be 21 or older to enjoy responsibly. Four Peaks out there, whether it's in the airport or if it's on H Street, the original OG location. You're going to enjoy yourself some great food. Of course, great beers. We continue our conversation. Let's get into this. So ESPN guys released this list as far as what they're saying is who's going to be some sleepers, who's going to be some busts, who's going to be breakouts this fantasy football season. And if you look at that, you're like, okay, there's got to be some Arizona Cardinals in the positive here. And there's not a single nice positive mention about the Arizona Cardinals. James Conner, Kyler Murray, both litter this list, but both in the bust category. Kyler Murray only looking up at Aaron Rodgers for most mentions as far as bust material at the quarterback position. And then James Conner is actually the running back mentioned the most as far as running backs go for bust in fantasy football this season. I'm pretty shocked because when I think of two guys that you could really rely on this season for the Arizona Cardinals, those are the two.
My question becomes, they put that list together calling guys that had pretty much, James Conner had a great season last year. 15 touchdowns, a little bit less than 20 actually with the catching part, 15 rushing touchdowns, which should have been very good for anybody in the fantasy football realm. And if you had over and unders all throughout the day and you was choosing them in the parlays, you should have did extremely well with JC. But to look at it from my standpoint, I'm just trying to figure out, are they counting that all three of these guys would have gotten paid coming into the season? That's Kliff. That's your boy Murray. And JC got a new contract. Do they think that typically once you get that bag, you shut it down, or you don't become that beast that you're supposed to be. Why would you call these guys to be busts, knowing that they just got paid? Everyone would have just gotten paid, DA, and then you'd expect these guys to just continually earn a check.
I mean, Frank, I see it as blasphemous and disrespectful. I mean, knowing what Kyler Murray is to not only the Arizona Cardinals, but the NFL, being a younger player, getting better every year, being in the Pro Bowl, being Rookie of the Year, all the accolades that we want, and then paired with this offensive, I wouldn't throw genius out there, but this, creative master that can, maneuver, put guys in positions to win, as you know, Frank. Mm-hmm. So with all that being said, and then the situation where they have the ability to move the ball and be in positions, be in the red zone where JC could score, I just think it's blatant hatred. Like, I mean, that's how I feel. Unfortunately, in the game of football, Bo and Frank, you know this well. Bo, so do you from being a baseball player, that people only remember you from your last performance. For sure. Unfortunately, there's been some bad stuff as a result of that, unknown with certain players being on the football team, things like that. Obviously, the 6-game suspension from D-Hop. So all these things, I think, are playing a part, coupled with the fact that the last image that the fans and that the media have of the Arizona Cardinals of the second part of that season, right, tale of 2 seasons, and then that L that they took in playoffs, that's the result that we're getting from the media. But I best believe game 3 through 7 or 9, if the Arizona Cardinals are winning, we know how quickly they could jump right back on that bandwagon.
Yeah, some incredible points. I mean, and one of the biggest is that they're not going to face big number 99 again, the Super Bowl champion Rams, on a weekly basis. They're going to have an opportunity to kind of find themselves again, especially on the offensive side of the football. And you're absolutely right as far as kind of the groupthink. I mean, every year at this time of year, people are making their predictions, and they don't vary from the end of last season. They saw what they saw, and they can't break off from that. Like, very rarely are people making the correct choice of who's going to go from worst to first. Like, they're not thinking outside the box. And when they look at the Arizona Cardinals and they look at Kyler Murray and how they struggled down the stretch, they're not taking in consideration, DeAndre Hopkins wasn't in the lineup and that they weren't up to snuff and that he missed 3 games. And if you get a full season of Kyler Murray, you're going to get a pretty impressive fantasy football output. Like, he's top 3 QB, if not in the conversation for QB1, as far as what he does, rushing the football, finding the end zone with his legs, and then how he can throw the deep ball. I mean, Kyler Murray, to put him on the bust and to see his name on this list that many times, it's just somebody said it, somebody agreed with it, and they weren't able to kind of vary from what the rest of the group was saying. And I think that's unfortunate for Kyler Murray, because you're coupling him back up with his college teammate, and he's got an embarrassment of riches. The guy is going to have a good season if he stays healthy.
Both of these guys right now in a position to come out, and if D-Hops is not here, both of these guys are coming out with the mentality that they're the reason why this offense moves, along with Zach Ertz, and then we also added HB, of course, Rondale Moore. So if you've given me weapons from a Kyler Murray perspective, they should have seen that we can only be better. And then JC, with the energy, what he's always possessed, and now you've given him another opportunity to get back as a running back, the number 1 running back. He was very effective in the offense and explosive. I just don't see how they saw to themselves that they thought these guys are going to be bust in regards to the fantasy points and fantasy football, that we will be less offensively than what we did last year. My offense is almost averaging 28 points a game. That just doesn't make sense, that you would think that these guys wouldn't have an impact, whether it be with Kyler Murray's legs and his arm, as well as JC and how effective he was for this team last year.
It's interesting to me with James Conner, because I feel like we did a pretty good job defending Kyler Murray. But when James Conner, Damian, correct me if I'm wrong, he's got something that you can't teach. When I see him go up against the Rams and he's from the 3-yard line and he's taking on Aaron Donald one-on-one and he's bouncing off Aaron Donald, you can't teach that. And that's not something that's just going to go away overnight for James Conner. He's still going to get his. That's the Arizona Cardinals game plan. They're close. The ball's going to number 6. They're going to want to protect Kyler Murray, and they're going to continue to go with that money in the bank play. And that's just pretty much a dive with James Conner.
And like Frank said, I mean, with 15 touchdowns, Bo, people knew that James Conner was getting the ball on those short yardage situations or those goal line situations. Like, to your point, he has a knack or an ability or it to find the end zone. And I think he's going to continually do that. Like, it's not, you have to be a unique running back to go to the Pittsburgh Steelers and run lead right, lead left. I mean, your body has to be different. The offensive line has to be different, and your perimeter weapons have to be have to be different. The Arizona Cardinals are built on misdirection, speed, and vertical threats. I mean, in game planning. That's what Kliff Kingsbury's offense is, and having an athletic quarterback in Kyler Murray. The running backs are going to eat because there's lanes. Defense doesn't know what they're doing half the time, and the running backs have the ability to have vision, which James Conner does. He doesn't really even need to come off the football field because he can play first, second, and third down. Now, what I will say, looking at it from the perspective with the depth that they have, with Williams, Bo and Frank, and with Keontae Ingram, that may spare them some time. But I think you guys know as well as I do, come those goal line situations, Connor is going to be in the damn game and get those 1 or 2 yard touchdowns. And if he's doing that, and if he has over 10 or 12 touchdowns, like, I don't know what's a bust. Like, if a bust, I'm thinking that's Frank pure disrespectful part. Like, I'm thinking that's under like 5 touchdowns. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm thinking.
15 touchdowns, almost 20.
I'm thinking he's going to have double-digit touchdowns this season. Best believe it.
Yeah, I see Valley Guy. I think even if he has an off year, I think double digits. Kenyon Drake had 10 touchdowns in what people call the down season the previous year. It's just an offense that's going to put you within striking distance. And if you're as talented and as big and physical as James Conner, you're going to be able to do it and be able to cash in. And as far as fantasy value, I don't see anybody that has that type of role in the NFL that should have the label bust associated with them. Same thing goes for Kyler Murray with what he can do, throwing the deep ball and running the football. Why even on his worst game, he would put your fantasy football team in a bad position. Hanging out with you here, I think if you are putting the bust label on these guys, you're dipping in too much of the OGs. OGs, that's not their thing. OGs, once you have a great experience, especially when you're dealing with cannabis. It's an Arizona cannabis kitchen, and they've released their first ever limited edition seasonal flavor, Pina Colada. Johnny and Kliff probably enjoying a Pina Colada. OGs sitting there on the beach in Cabo. Perfect pineapple, creamy coconut blend. Check out OGs online. Of course, check them on Instagram, the second hottest thing on IG outside of Kliff Kingsbury's Heaters, at OGs Brands. You can find the products at your local dispensary. You must be 21 years or older to keep up with the good times. You also want to make sure COVID-19 vaccines, they're free for everyone out there, 5 and older. Those 12 and older are also now eligible for the booster. We'll want to continue to get together like last night's draft party out at Four Peaks. Go out there, get vaccinated. It's our best option right now to stay safe, stay healthy. Of course, check out azhealth.gov/findvaccine for a location near you. That's azhealth.gov/findvaccine for a location near you. We're going to wrap up a Friday edition right now, but tomorrow we've got an audio-only version coming to you as well. We've got some no cap version of PHNX Cardinals. We're going to get into who's going to have the most sacks, who's going to have the most receiving yards between a couple players. We'll get into that conversation, plus much, much more. Oh, this is also Jalen Ramsey started kind of chirping a little bit on Twitter because he's feeling like he's not getting the respect he deserves as far as one of the top corners in NFL history. I think there's one former Arizona Cardinal that has a bone to pick with Jalen Ramsey. We'll get into that conversation as well. Look for that on Saturday on wherever you find podcasts. Appreciate you listening, viewing, subscribe, leave a 5-star review anywhere you get your podcast. And we'll see you guys on Saturday, audio only, and then once again live on YouTube on Monday. Have a great rest of your weekend.